Voices from history, where the past speaks again. Discover the voices that shape.
In the annals of human conflict, some names echo with a singular, chilling resonance. Stalingrad, a city synonymous with heroism, with an unyielding stand, with the very turning tide of a global war. But beneath the monumental narratives of tanks and trenches, of generals and strategic genius, lies a story often whispered, often obscured by the roar of battle. The story of its civilians. This is not a tale of soldiers' valor alone, but of an entire population caught in the gears of an apocalypse. This is the unvarnished truth of survival, of unimaginable suffering, and of an enduring spirit that refused to be extinguished. From the innocent children huddling in cellars to the aged watching their world crumble, these were the tears of Stalingrad, their silent screams, their desperate hopes, their quiet sacrifices formed the true, harrowing heart of this epic struggle. Today, on Voices from History, we peel back the layers of military strategy to expose the raw human cost of war, a cost paid in the lives of ordinary people. We invite you to join us on this profound journey into the past, to hear the echoes of those who endured the unimaginable. If you seek to understand the deeper currents of history, subscribe to Voices from History now, and never miss an episode that challenges perspectives and illuminates forgotten truths. Before the storm, Stalingrad was a burgeoning industrial hub, a vibrant Soviet city bustling with life and ambition. Its factories hummed with production, its streets teemed with families, its parks offered respite and laughter. Children played by the Volga, their futures stretching out like the vast, fertile plains around them, seemingly boundless and bright. People built homes, nurtured dreams, fell in love, and believed in the promise of a collective future. They were workers, teachers, engineers, doctors, artists, the ordinary fabric of any great city, each thread interwoven with the next. They lived lives of hope, oblivious to the monstrous shadow that was rapidly approaching from the west, a shadow that would soon engulf their entire world. The German invasion of June 1941, Operation Barbarossa, shattered this peace across the Soviet Union. Initially, Stalingrad felt distant from the front lines, a vital production center supporting the war effort, but not yet a direct target. Then, as the summer of 1942 scorched the steppes, the Luftwaffe began its merciless assaults. The first bombs fell not on military installations, but on homes, on schools, on civilian infrastructure, turning ordinary afternoons into infernos. The terror was immediate, pervasive, and absolute. Evacuation orders were issued, but often too late, too disorganized, or simply overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the advance and the speed of the German forces. Hundreds of thousands found themselves trapped, their escape routes severed, their hopes of safety dwindling with each passing day. The city, once a symbol of Soviet progress, was transforming into a deadly trap. Families were torn apart, children separated from parents, the elderly left behind, unable to flee the approaching horror. The mighty Volga, usually a symbol of life and connection, became a barrier, a dangerous crossing under constant enemy fire. By late August 1942, the Sixth Army of the Wehrmacht reached the city's outskirts, and the Battle of Stalingrad, the bloodiest battle in human history, began in earnest. But for the civilians trapped within, it wasn't a battle of military objectives. It was a battle for their very existence. The German aerial bombardment on August 23, 1942, was an act of unfathomable destruction. Wave after wave of Stukas and bombers descended, unleashing a firestorm that consumed the city. In a single day, Stalingrad was reduced to rubble, its wooden buildings erupting into towering infernos, its streets running with molten tar and the blood of innocents. Tens of thousands perished in that initial onslaught. Not soldiers, but ordinary citizens caught in their homes, at their workplaces, on the streets. The beautiful city, just hours before a living entity, became a landscape of twisted metal, charred timbers, and the acrid smell of death. Those who survived the initial bombing sought refuge where they could find it. In basements, in sewers, in hastily dug trenches, amidst the very ruins of their lives. This was to be their new reality, a subterranean existence, a constant game of hide and seek with death. The fighting moved street by street, house by house, room by room, making no distinction between combatant and non-combatant. Snipers took aim at anything that moved, artillery shelled indiscriminately, and civilians became unwilling participants in the most brutal urban warfare imaginable. The sheer proximity of death was suffocating. The sounds of battle were unceasing, the thunder of artillery, the crackle of machine guns, the screams of the wounded, the cries of the dying. These became the lullabies and the waking nightmares for the trapped population. Food supplies quickly dwindled. Rations, already meager, became non-existent for most civilians. People scavenged for anything edible, scraps of rotten food, stray animals, even bark from trees. The gnawing emptiness in their bellies became a constant companion, a dull ache that sharpened into searing pain as days turned into weeks, weeks into months, without adequate sustenance. Forcing families to consume anything from rats to boiled leather. Water was equally scarce and often contaminated, leading to outbreaks of disease that swept through the weakened population. Dysentery, typhus, and other illnesses claimed lives just as surely as bullets and bombs. The freezing Russian winter descended upon the ruins, adding another layer of torment. Without shelter, without warmth, people froze to death in their hidouts, their bodies left unburied in the frozen landscape. The cold seeped into their very bones, a relentless enemy that no weapon could fight. Children, perhaps the most vulnerable, suffered immeasurably. They witnessed horrors no child should ever see. The death of parents, the destruction of their homes, the constant threat of starvation. Yet many showed incredible resilience, becoming messengers, scavengers, or simply sources of comfort for their traumatized families. Their childhoods were stolen, replaced by the grim realities of war, leaving scars that would last a lifetime. Women played an indispensable, though often unrecognized, role. They nursed the wounded, comforted the dying, searched for food, and maintained a semblance of family life in the most impossible conditions. Many joined the defense, becoming anti-aircraft gunners, nurses, or even partisan fighters, directly resisting the invaders. Their courage was not found in grand gestures, but in the daily grinding struggle to protect their loved ones and simply to exist. The Volga River, once a bustling artery of trade, became a lifeline, a desperate crossing point for supplies, and for the few wounded or children who could be evacuated. It was also a grave, its waters carrying the bodies of those who perished, trying to cross under relentless enemy fire. The banks of the Volga bore witness to countless acts of heroism and despair, a silent observer of the human spirit pushed to its absolute breaking point. Amidst the chaos, amidst the constant threat of death, pockets of humanity endured. Strangers shared what little they had, neighbors offered solace, and a collective determination to survive against all odds took root. This shared suffering forged an unbreakable bond, a testament to the human capacity for empathy, even in the darkest of times. Even some German soldiers, hardened by war, were reportedly appalled by the conditions of the trapped civilians. Letters home spoke of the haunting eyes of the Russian children, the skeletal figures scavenging for food. This was not just a battle against an army. It was a war against an entire people, and the moral cost was immeasurable. The civilians of Stalingrad were not mere passive victims. They contributed to the war effort, digging trenches, building fortifications, extinguishing fires, and providing intelligence to the Soviet defenders. Their presence, their sheer refusal to yield, became a powerful, unspoken resistance, a constant burden on the German forces who sought to cleanse the city. If these profound stories of human endurance and sacrifice resonate with you, if they stir a deeper appreciation for the price of freedom, please consider supporting Voices from History. Your engagement helps us continue to bring these vital, often overlooked chapters of human experience to light, ensuring that these tears are never forgotten. The Soviet counter-offensive Operation Uranus, launched in November 1942, encircled the German Sixth Army, turning the hunters into the hunted. While this marked a turning point for the civilians trapped within, the fighting intensified, the suffering reaching new, agonizing peaks. The hope of liberation was mixed with the continued brutal reality of bombardment and starvation. When the battle finally ended in February 1943, after 200 days of relentless fighting, Stalingrad was a wasteland. The victory was monumental, but the cost was staggering. Estimates vary, but it is believed that out of approximately 400,000 civilians living in Stalingrad before the war, only tens of thousands, perhaps as few as 1,500 children, survived the siege. They emerged from their cellars and holes to a landscape of utter desolation, a city of ghosts. Their faces were etched with trauma, their bodies emaciated, their eyes reflecting the horrors they had witnessed. The long road to recovery, both physical and psychological, had only just begun. The survivors faced the monumental task of rebuilding not just the city, but their shattered lives. Many carried the emotional scars of Stalingrad for the rest of their days, a silent testament to the cruelty of war. The official narrative of Stalingrad often focuses on military heroism, on strategic brilliance, and on the ultimate Soviet victory. And rightly so, for those sacrifices were immense and crucial. But it is equally vital to remember the tears of Stalingrad, the silent suffering of its civilian population, their endurance, their resilience, their profound and unyielding will to survive, even in the face of absolute annihilation, stands as one of history's most poignant and powerful lessons. They remind us that war is never just about soldiers and borders. It is about human beings, their homes, their dreams, and their lives. The lessons of Stalingrad civilians resonate deeply today, a stark reminder of the indiscriminate cruelty of conflict and the immense value of peace. Their legacy compels us to look beyond the grand narratives and to listen to the whispers of those who paid the ultimate price, not on the battlefield, but in their own homes. Lest we forget, their stories must continue to be told. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of human resilience and tragedy. If this episode moved you, please share it to ensure these vital stories reach a wider audience. Leave a comment below with your thoughts and reflections on the civilian experience in wartime. And for more untold stories, for deeper dives into the human tapestry of history, subscribe to Voices from History and join our community in remembering the past to better understand our future.